Assignment 4.1. Okay, so in this PowerPoint it is important to look at where research and ethical and legal responsibilities of a researcher really needed to come into place. During World War II, the Nazis carried out experiments on Jewish prisoners at concentration camps. They were testing for the Luftwaffe and trying to see how long a pilot would survive in certain temperatures or altitudes. Many of the test subjects would die, and the Nazis would not take care of them at all. As well as this, the experiments being against the will of the subject and causing physical and psychological harm. Before 1947, there was no code of conduct for human experiments. After World War II, the Nuremberg Code and the Declaration of Helsinki were put into place, and these are a set of ethical principles that must be kept whilst carrying out research. The Nuremberg Code was 10 rules that formed a guideline that the researcher must stay with it. The rules were: consent is voluntary, testing is necessary and will improve society, the research is based on animal testing, avoid any physical or psychological harm, should not be conducted if there is any risk of death or serious injury, there must be adequate facilities, and conducted by qualified people. The degree of risk should never exceed a level determined by humanitarian importance, and the subject has the right to withdraw at any point. It is important to understand ethical and legal. As well as also, scientists must be prepared to terminate the experiment at any time. When working in research, it is important to understand ethical and legal. Ethical is moral principles and is right or wrong, and legal is working within the law. There is an organisation that determines whether research can be carried out, as well as accrediting research. BASES stands for British Association of Sport and Exercise Science. The Ethics Committee is also a group of expert people that are within your area of research, such as a university or company, and they can determine whether you can carry out research by analysing factors such as importance of the research and all of the risks. As well as this, there is the HSE, which is the Health and Safety Executive, and this puts in place certain rules for different types of work, for example building sites or research techniques that ensure safety. So, Assessment Scenario 1. Following your BSc degree in Sport and Exercise Science, you are an intern at Brighton University, and you've been asked to do a body fat baseline test of young male and female aspiring British gymnasts. You arrange a half-day visit and decide to measure body fat via hydrodensitometry and the skin fold measures. The gymnasts have given their coach a generic consent form signed by parents, giving them permission to be on the trip. When they arrive, you tell them that they have to wear a swimsuit in the lab in order to firstly do the skin fold measures, then to conduct the hydrodensitometry in the bath. Some are reluctant to do this openly in the lab, but you insist. This is necessary to be time efficient and get through testing. As the gymnasts finish each test, you write each body fat score on a whiteboard, so the coach can take a photo of the results to take away at the end. So, the researcher in Scenario 1 has organised a half-day which involves hydrodensitometry and skin fold caliper, which looks at the body fat of the test subjects. The researcher has received informed consent from the parents of the test subjects, which is good, because they are unable to fill out their own permission forms as they are under the age of 18. However, it has not been disclosed whether or not the protocol of the test has been given to the parents, and this could be deception via omission. In this case, there should be a debriefing at the end of the test, and if this is not done, then the consequence could be a fine, prison, suspension or termination of employment. This is determined at a criminal law tribunal. This is because there isn't informed consent, as the participants and the parents don't know the extent of the research. Therefore, the researcher does not have the permission of the parents. The subjects are then required to change into swimwear that is required for the testing. However, the researcher does not consider the subjects feeling uncomfortable. This is improper conduct, and the researcher should make the effort to have separate changing areas even if it means delaying the test. This is because the researcher is not respecting the students or even having separate changing for boys and girls, let alone individual changing areas. The consequences of this could be psychological harm that comes to the participants, as they are uncomfortable with their physical appearance, or they may lose confidence if they are changing with other people. When each student has finished their testing, the results are displayed on a whiteboard for everyone to see. This is improper conduct because the results should be kept confidential, as it is a problem with data protection, and only shown to the participants whose result it is, and not displayed for everyone to see. Data protection is crucial when it comes to confidentiality and is part of the Data Protection Act. It ensures that all private data is kept anonymous, confidential, and is in a secure area for storage. The consequence of this could be psychological harm because a participant has a poor score, then that other people in the group may be able to use this as an excuse to bully someone. This could mean that the person being bullied may not want to take part in any other research in the future, or they fall out with their peer group. The researcher will then have to take part in ethical training. This will help educate them on ethical responsibilities, as well as covering respect of test subjects. As well as this, the researcher has left out a risk assessment that must be completed and reviewed before the research is carried out. The risk assessment should include what the hazard is, severity rating, who is affected, and what controls are in place to prevent the hazard from occurring. An example of a hazard occurring during this test could be a slip hazard, because after the test subject gets out of the bath, they will be very wet and they may slip. Assessment Scenario 2. With a little time to spare, you offer to get them through a VO2 max treadmill incremental test. During the test, one of the boys gives a thumbs down to indicate discomfort, but you insist he continues and tell him to stop being a girl, as he should be doing better than this. He is so tired that he slips getting off the back of the machine and twists his knee. You tell him to go and run it underwater as you can't see the first aid kit. This took some time, so you reduce the warm-up of the following participant on the treadmill in a bid to get through them all, and decide to prioritize getting the better boys done first. 2 weeks later, you decide to use the data in your MSc dissertation and publish it in the university's portal. The test that is carried out after the body fat test is a VO2 max test. However, a problem that could be with this is that the participants or the parents may not know that they were going to carry out a VO2 max test as well as the hydrodensitometry. Because the coach could have just come up with the idea and there was no risk assessment or participation slip that was signed by the parents. This means that the researcher does not have the permission from the parents and could have legal consequences such as a fine, or the researcher may be suspended because they have deceived the participants and there will not be a debriefing at the end of the testing. During the test, however, one of the boys gives a thumbs down, which indicates they feel uncomfortable, but you insist that he carries on. This is an immediate reason for terminating the test, and the researcher should have respected the choice of the participant because he puts the thumbs down and he does not have to disclose why he wanted to stop the test. This could also cause psychological harm as a result of the test not stopping. The researcher may be subject to formal reprimand over the poor scientific conduct, and there may be a termination of the BASES accreditation. As well as this, as we can see here, the researcher says stop being a girl and he should be doing better than this. And this is also poor scientific conduct because he should be much more respectful of the subject. As well as this, through forcing the boy to carry on, he gets so tired that he twists his knee as he slips off the treadmill. As well as this, you carry out poor first aid action because you do not supervise him as he goes to run his leg underwater, and you do not know where the closest first aid bag is. This shows that you clearly did not prepare for the session and you may need to be supervised, or you may go to criminal law tribunal for negligence. The researcher also filled out an accident report after this injury, which was a good thing, because the injury would have had to been filed and will be analysed, and controls will be put in place next time to prevent any further accidents like this occurring. Because this took such a long time, you reduce the warm-up of the other participants. This will dramatically increase the danger of one of the performers being injured, as it is a maximal test. As a researcher, you have the responsibility to ensure the safety of all participants, so you must carry out a suitable warm-up for every person. Furthermore, you prioritise the best performers, which is not portraying equality within the group. When you use the data that you collected in this test in your dissertation, it is not reliable because all participants did not have a suitable warm-up. You prioritised the best performing athletes, and you have not had the permission from the parents to use their data, and publishing the dissertation on the university portal is not an accredited site for publishing. This means the dissertation has not been reviewed by experts and is generally a poor piece of work because it is not credited by a reliable publisher. Assessment Scenario 3. An experienced researcher has already gone to the ethics committee so that they are cleared to carry out their study. The research involves the Wingate test, which measures anaerobic power and capacity. This test requires the participants to cycle at maximal effort for 30 seconds. The researcher gathers multiple age subjects from their base university, and from the researcher's old school he has reached out to the sport department so that he can find the effects in young trained athletes. The day that the researcher is carrying out the test, he has the permission slips from all the children that he sent out. The permission slips contain the protocols, and because the children in the school are under the age of 18, they must be signed by parents or guardians. The permission slip also has a warning that this test is a maximal test, so the participants are likely to feel nauseous or lightheaded after the workout. The researcher ensures that every participant has the correct warm-up, and this takes about 15 minutes, and all the participants do the warm-up together. Because there are around 25 people doing the test, there are 2 bikes that have been set up, and the researcher has also asked 2 lab supervisors to help him with the test. After one of the participants has done the test, one of the students gets a cramp in their legs. After the test has been carried out, the results are published in an accredited book. Most of this scenario is good. The researcher has gone to the ethics committee and has been cleared to carry out the test. This means that the researcher's method ensures safety if carried out. As well as this, the researcher has been completely random in their selection of participants, apart from asking the school's football coach for some students to participate in the test. However, he needs the permission from all the parents, and this is done successfully as he gains the permission of the parents or guardian. The researcher should also ask any participants if they've had any injuries. This could come in the form of a question just before the exercise is carried out, or there may be a client PARQ, a physical activity readiness questionnaire, that may have to be filled out so that the researcher knows that they are able to carry out exercise. The researcher has also included a disclaimer for the parents and the participants saying that the test may cause nausea or becoming lightheaded, but they should have also had another verbal warning before the test. The researcher also carries out good protocol and includes a group warm-up so that everybody is ready for the testing. One of the students got a cramp after the test, and this means that the cool-down should have been included. The researcher should have made the participants cycle for 2 to 3 minutes with low intensity for a cool-down. To ensure the safety of everybody taking part, the researcher has also had 2 experienced lab supervisors do the test with other participants on the other bike, so more people can do the test. As well as this, the researchers had their work published in an accredited book, which means that the results they gained were significant and the book is also reliable. In the next slides, I show you a risk assessment that is carried out for the scenario, for the second scenario. This is an example of a physical activity readiness questionnaire, and this is an accident report that should have been filled out.